So this is the 2024 Ford F150 4x4 Tremor, and it is a very special truck for two main reasons. First of all, it comes standard with a V8 under the hood, which practically makes this thing an endangered species. And secondly, it features the Tremor package, which aims to improve the off-road chops of the Ford F150. Now wait a minute, you might be thinking, isn't that the job of the Ford Raptor? And you would be right. The Raptor is a better off-road truck than the Ford Tremor. However, the Raptor makes sacrifices to do that. It has totally different suspension, whereas the Tremor still focuses on its duties as a light-duty work truck and features a higher payload capacity and a higher towing capacity than the Ford Raptor. The Tremor starts at just over $64,000, with this one behind me has equipped around $81,000. That's about the same price as a base Raptor. And in this video, I'll take you through the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, we'll take it for a drive. So here are the keys to the F-150 Tremor. Standard Ford F-150 keys. Would have liked to see some Tremor badging, kind of like what they do for the Raptor, but nonetheless, that's what you get. Moving on to this truck, it's finished in antimatter blue, and you might have noticed all of these sort of orangish, copperish accents on the front, the side, and even the Tremor badge. Well, that is the Tremor identifier color, so when you see one on the road, regardless of what color, they'll all have those badges. But it's not just a cosmetic-only package. There are plenty of cool upgrades. I mean, just look at this thing sitting here. It looks like it's already 3/4 of a way to a Raptor. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if people mistook these for Raptors on the road. Now, there are some other cosmetic look changes that are also functional. For example, this thing even has a 1-inch wider stance than the standard Ford F-150. For 2024, there were also some additional updates that sort of changed some of the fascia, and Ford even slipped in some updates for Blue Cruise. Now, the other cool things we talk about is just the general capability. Now, this thing has 9.8 inches of ground clearance. In the front here, you're looking at a 25.2 approach angle, and in the back, we have a 26.9 degree departure angle, which generally for trucks tends to suffer a bit because of the bed overhang, but it's not so bad here. Now, moving back to the front of the truck, let's talk about what we've got going on here. So up top here, we've got this power bulge hood that has these functional heat extractors, which look quite sharp. In the front here, we have this sort of new fun styling for this grille. You can see we have our headlights, of course, updated, which have these cool amber running lights here that look quite sharp when the vehicle's on the road. You get LED fog lights. You get the black Ford badges, which is standard for the Tremor packages, regardless of what model you choose, even on the Mavericks. And we even have this optional modular bumper, which can get a winch if you feel so desired. Now, in previous models, the tow hooks were generally that Tremor color, but that's not the case here for the 2024. But more importantly, underneath, we still have a steel skid plate. So that's some real off-road prowess to help protect what's underneath this pickup truck, which is always good to see. That's going to be similar to what you'll find on a Ford Raptor. Now, moving on to the side here, there's some other cool stuff. More importantly, our F-150 Tremor badge, which is also functional heat extractors. But here in the wheel well, there's lots of cool stuff going on. Now, everything rides on a fully boxed steel chassis, but there's even some Tremor exclusive parts that you can't see readily looking at it. You have Tremor exclusive front knuckles, control arms, and even shocks, which you can't really see, but if you look under the back, you can see the Tremor branded off-road shocks, which is pretty cool. Now, standard is going to be these 18-inch matte finished wheels, and they're actually wrapped in 33-inch General Grabber tires. These are 275/70/18. It's going to be the same front and rear, and you can look, these have a fairly knobby, aggressive off-road tread with decent sidewall protection, so that's all good there. As we keep moving down, we do have keyless entry, of course. On the driver's side, you even get the numbered keypad, which is a big Ford favorite feature. I know a lot of people that only buy Ford trucks for that feature. You, of course, get the twin moon roof. You get your power adjustable mirrors here, which have integrated turn signals and cameras. You do get a fixed side step, which is quite solid and rigid, makes it easier to get in and out of the truck, as this thing, it does sit pretty tall. You also get tinted windows in the back. And then we have the rear here, which is pretty similar. You can see our full-size spare in the back. That's one big benefit of getting a truck. This one does have the electronic sliding rear window. You have the optional tonneau cover, which isn't for everybody, but again, that is optional. And as we come to the rear, you can see the updated fascia. This one does have the black Ford badging, more Tremor badging, dual exit exhaust, even the step here. But more importantly, this is a power function tailgate. So we can go ahead and drop it. and it will lower itself automatically, which is quite sharp. And that gives us access. Obviously, this one's the multifunction tailgate. You can take a look. You have the optional spray-in Ford bed liner, 120-volt support system as part of those sort of Ford power features, if you will, to provide power throughout the truck, LED zone lighting, all of that good stuff here. When you're done and you want to put this up, you can actually just touch the button underneath again. You can also drop it with the fob, and it goes back up under its own power, which is a really cool feature. It's amazing to me that these are basically luxury trucks of this day and age. Now, we should look at some of the other features, tow hooks, the steps, but more importantly, the tow hitch and connecting wiring. Now, the Tremor, as I mentioned earlier, actually has more payload capacity and towing than even the big bad Raptor R. This thing has a payload capacity of 2,445 pounds, but the towing capacity, if you have the bigger EcoBoost twin turbo motor and if you have the tow haul package, is up to 13,500 pounds. That's about 5,000 pounds more than the Ford Raptor, which is a better off-roader, but the Tremor is a better work truck with a little bit of off-road prowess. Moving on to the interior, if we open this up, this truck is incredibly luxurious. I mean, this is going to share a lot of features with the Raptor, and that makes this a very luxurious truck for either just road trips or even going off-road, just like the Raptor, without quite sharing the same off-road sentiments. Now, looking at this, you'll also notice there's some Tremor-specific features. You can note the colors and the flag, the deviated stitching, steering wheel stitching, center console stitching, and even these Tremor seats, which are not only embroidered with the Tremor logo here, they are actually heated and ventilated power adjustable seats with memory settings for both the driver and passenger, which is quite cool. Even the little Ford logos in the side there are kind of nice. It, of course, has some side bolstering and just a touch of leg bolstering, but they are incredibly comfortable. Now, before we get too far into the front tech here, I want to show you the back. Now, this being a Super Crew 4-door is absolutely massive. I mean, just look at all the room in here. And these seats, too, also continue the theme, which is incredibly cool, embroidered Tremor. These can be folded down or stowed away as you need, both in this way and the other way. So it's pretty cool that you can multi-adjust these seats. We go ahead and climb in here. It has these grab handles, which are super helpful, but boy, is this space huge. I'm 6 foot even for reference. My head does not touch the roof, and my legs don't even come close. So if you're buying this as a family vehicle or haul a lot of people, construction team, etc., that won't be a problem here. You'll fit most adults in this Tremor. Now, moving on, there are also some other features. The fact that you have this double moonroof that can be opened up to sort of make it feel like you're expanding the cabin. You, of course, get seat pockets, these cup holders for the back that can also be used by the front. You actually have heated seats for the outside rear seats. So you seats a total of 5. You also have a cigarette lighter here. They have rear vents. You also get 2 USB Type-C ports and a 120-volt port. That's pretty cool here, not to mention more of the Bang & Olufsen sound system, but pretty simple in the back. Let's hop in the front and talk about all of the real cool tech. But first I have to stop at the door. You can see the Bang & Olufsen sound system speakers here as well, some of those memory seating controls, and we have, of course, this nice big pad which serves as a elbow or armrest, and it's soft touch material, so this will be nice for long drives. I also want to point out this panel here, which actually has some of the Pro Power adjustments here. You can drop the tailgate from the cab. You also have lighting adjustments, your zone lighting, headlight controls, and we even have the pedal adjustment. That's right, you can adjust the position of the pedals in addition to the position of the seat, so you are totally comfortable in your Ford F-150 Tremor. Even the column here is actually power adjustable, which is quite nice. We go ahead and climb in. We can go ahead and use our push to start and start this truck up. So you might have noticed there are 2 digital displays in addition to a heads-up display. Some of this is going to be fairly standard, and for 2024, this 12-inch display, which is massive, iPad-sized, is now standard in the Tremor. So starting with this, there is all sorts of wonderful functionality: Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, on your Pro Power onboard adjustments, of course your Trail Turn assists, all of your apps, your settings, your audio, Sirius XM connectivity, all of that can be found here. So there's quite a bit of information, including the sort of standard navigation. Now above that, we do have the auto stop start buttons. We have the camera control, so you can use this for either parking or you could use it for off-roading, depending on your preference. You do have your parking assist, hazards, traction control, and even your one pedal downhill assist, which is pretty nice. This truck does have the tow haul package, so you might notice some extra trailer controls in here to adjust that as you need. In addition to that, we have some more physical buttons down below, which does have, of course, dual climate control, the controls for the heated and ventilated seats, in addition to the heated steering wheel. And we even have this side for the passenger. There's a fun button up here that actually opens up the storage compartment, and you have the glove box, 12-volt cigarette outlet, and 120-volt AC. But more importantly is this right here, which is not only your four-wheel drive controls, but it's also your drive mode controls. 2 high is where you'll likely be spending most of your time. 4 high and 4 low are pretty self-explanatory. And then you have 4A, which is that Ford mode that seems to elude so many people. What this is it's essentially four-wheel drive automatic. Now you shouldn't be using it full the time because you might damage some of the drive components, but it's going to be best suited for either high-speed acceleration scenarios where the system's going to automatically decouple the four-wheel drive when you reach high speeds, or it's going to be great in snowy or inhospitable climate conditions where it can use the four-wheel drive at low speeds to make sure you have traction, and it will disengage it as you get up to speed. If you go ahead and twist this, that'll adjust your various off-road modes. You can see we have quite a few here. Normal, in addition to towing modes, off-road modes, slippery modes. You have an eco mode and even the sport mode, which is going to make the truck a little bit more exciting, make it feel a bit more responsive, and put it in that 4A drive mode. So a lot of that will automatically shift. I should also remind you that this is a shift-on-the-fly transfer case. So basically you just take your foot off the gas pedal and the truck does all the work, which is absolutely incredible. Moving on, you have a wireless charger, for some physical charge ports for the front. You do have some more storage here in addition to these cup holders, but even cool is this, the optional system where it'll go ahead and hide our automatic shifter, which has manual shift modes. And now we can actually fold this out. And now we have our mobile desk here in our Ford F150 where you can place your laptop, do some paperwork, whatever the case is. But if you don't need it, you can fold it away, and you don't lose the practicality of your center console storage, which is all still there. Moving on here, we do have the front digital display for the driver and the heads-up display. Heads-up display has speed sign recognition. It'll tell you the temperature, time, your speed, all that stuff. That's fairly helpful, and can even show navigation. Here is very, very simple. You'll notice there's not a whole lot of numbers. Most of these gauges are dumb gauges, except for your range, your speedo, and your tach. And this can be adjusted to show a couple different things here. You can manage the menu controls from the steering wheel, and you can also skip songs, hang or answer calls, and even do your voice activations, volume adjustments, all here from the steering wheel. And to the top left is going to be some of those driver assists, your lane departure, you have your radar cruise, and even just your cruise control settings. So all of which makes for a wonderful experience here. Minimal functions. You actually have your controls here for some of your lights and the wipers, and it's just such a luxurious truck. I mean, even up here is going to be just like the Ford Raptor with these outfitter switches that can actually be changed or adjusted. You can use it for a winch, or you could even use it for other lights that you add, a storage cubby, our controls for that moonroof, of course, our lighting controls, garage adjustments, and even the mirrors, which of course are backlit. So lots of cool features in here. This is a luxury truck. Do not fool yourselves. That high price point might look eluding, but you get a lot for the money here. I mean, this thing is incredibly nice and competes with some of the best luxury vehicles while also being a pickup truck. The F150 Tremor is offered with 2 different engine options. Standard is this, a Coyote-based 5-liter V8 producing 400 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque, or you can get the optional EcoBoost twin-turbocharged 3.5-liter V6, which also produces 400 horsepower, but it makes 500 pound-feet of torque. So that EcoBoost engine option is going to be the one that'll have the highest towing capability and will make your Tremor a little bit faster. Now, whichever engine option you choose comes paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission with a 2-speed shift-on-the-fly transfer case for 4-wheel drive, and standard is an electronically locking rear differential. So obviously that helps with the off-road chops, and you can use these selectable drive modes to adjust it as you like. Now this truck is pretty heavy. This thing weighs somewhere in the neighborhood of around 5,600 pounds. With the V8, should do 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds. If you have that EcoBoost motor, it'll be a little bit faster. We're talking sub 6 second range, so somewhere into the 5s. Now, let's talk fuel economy, which trucks are generally not known for. This, with the V8, is rated for 15 miles per gallon city and 20 miles per gallon highway and 17 miles per gallon combined, which isn't too shabby. That's better than trucks have owned of the past, especially when they're this tall and more off-road capable. Generally, you see them get worse fuel economy. However, the bright side of that is that this truck has an absolutely massive fuel tank. We're talking 36 gallons, whereas the average truck fuel tank used to be around 22 gallons or so. This one is huge. You should get a minimum of 500 miles per tank if you drive it poorly, and up to 650 miles of range if you're kind to it, or maybe even just do a lot of highway driving, which means you could take this thing all sorts of places. Obviously, that'll help when it's towing too and you need the extra fuel because you're burning it faster, or you can even take it overlanding, put a tent, put your gear in the back, etc. And you can go pretty deep into the woods. So that makes this a very cool truck. Step on it. So it's not the fastest truck in the world with the V8 under the hood, but it does sound pretty good, and obviously it's going to be okay at towing with that EcoBoost being available if you wanted it to do so. But when you just drive it, whether you're driving on smooth roads like this or off-roading, the suspension's quite good at getting rid of lots of the bumps, and there's actually pretty good sound deadening in here too. There's really no wind noise, things that you would typically be accustomed to in older trucks. But that's not the case. These new trucks are more like luxury commodities that also happen to be able to go off-road or do pickup truck stuff. I mean, it is really crazy what trucks have turned into. And the Tremor is quite a lot, you know, with everything that you saw there and just the exterior features, the interior luxuries, the fact that you can have ventilated seats while you're off-roading, AC, heated seats, heated steering wheel, absolutely crazy. And I mean, Ford's even trying to help you out with anything that you might do in the aftermarket with those outfitter switches over here in the center I pointed out earlier that will make it even easier to hook up a winch or hook up exterior lighting kits, and you don't even have to cut into the vehicle. You just wire it up to the outfitter switches and you still have a very nicely designed interior by Ford instead of a cut up, put together piece of material. So everything is incredibly impressive these days. It often feels like there's no such thing as a bad vehicle, just some differences between what's currently on sale. And the Tremor is quite impressive. It rides wonderfully, just like you hear people talk about with Raptors. There's a reason people daily drive Raptors, and I have a feeling anybody planning on daily driving a Tremor won't be disappointed either. Now, as I showed you there, it's not necessarily that fast. A Raptor will absolutely smoke this thing. Those things have plenty of power, but it's still a really nice truck that has no issues going uphill. You won't ever find yourself needing more power unless you were trying to drag race it, which just doesn't make any sense why you would buy this truck. There are better suited vehicles for that. But the visibility is quite good. Seeing out the mirror can be a little bit difficult, but this A-pillar is actually kind of far enough up where it doesn't really obstruct your vision. The mirrors are nice and big, so you can actually see what's behind you. I mean, it's just kind of a nice vehicle. It's obviously got a very high up visibility point. It feels taller than most trucks on the road, which is obviously in part due to some of that Tremor suspension kits, but it's quite a nice vehicle to drive, and it's very cushy. Obviously, even the bigger tires help with some of the cushiness in this vehicle. So all in all, I would say if you're, having your doubts, take it for a test drive, and I think you might be pleasantly surprised because there's a lot to like getting behind the wheel of the Tremor. Whether you're going to daily it, just use it for truck stuff, etc., it is fairly impressive. So with that, that is a quick look at the Ford F150 Tremor, which is a very cool, highly capable truck with plenty of off-road chops, just maybe not quite as much as the Ford Raptor. And the Ford Raptor is a pretty good tow vehicle and has plenty of power, but this is a better tow vehicle, and you even have that EcoBoost engine available if you wanted more torque to make this even better at towing. But I think the fact that this comes with that awesome 5-liter V8 standard is incredible. Not to mention, it's even cheaper than the Raptor. So I think this does a lot of anything that you might need off-road wise for the average person. Most people that own own Raptors aren't going to be using them to their full potential anyways, and you could consider this and it might even save you a bit of money. Not to mention the luxuries on the inside. This thing is just as luxurious as a Raptor, all sorts of wonderful features. It's a very comfortable truck that does everything you want it to. So I'm quite impressed with this. And obviously, if you wanted more from it, you can obviously amp it up. This truck is around $81,000. It's about the same price of a new Raptor for the standard EcoBoost one. So they can get pretty expensive that way as well. But it's totally up to you on what you prefer, whether you jump dunes more often or if you plan on doing more towing. Either way, I don't think you'd really be in the wrong. I just think it's a really cool alternative that Ford offers to fill all of the various nooks and crannies in the truck segment. But with that, that's going to be the end of the video. If you enjoyed it and could leave me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. Consider dropping a comment below and let me know what you think about the Ford F150 Tremor. And of course, if you go ahead and get subscribed so you don't miss future content like this. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.